Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. Only want to see you bathing in the purple rain. I never want to be your weekend lover. All I want to be some kind of friend. Hey, baby, I could never steal you from another. It's such a shame our friendship had to end. Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain.
Alrighty, everybody. Long time no see. Welcome back to the YS channel. You know, we were undergoing some technical renovations, moving across the globe, and acquiring tools. Now, roll that fun shit out of the way, everybody. So, the movie we're talking about today is the cult classic 80s mega hit, Purple Rain, starring none other than Prince. And Prince and the Revolution. So, anybody not familiar with who Prince is, simply look him up. And you'll be amazed at the amount of talent this guy had. He was pretty much like the counterpart to Michael Jackson during the 1980s. Probably the Cliff Notes version of saying who he is.
All right, well, the artist known as Prince was a rising pop star in the 1980s, often compared to Michael Jackson. But in 1984, he was approached to make a musical film that was a semi-biographical depiction of his rise to fame that became Purple Rain, which would elevate him from glorified pop star to mega stardom.
Mm-hmm. So as you already said pretty well there, Purple Rain is a biographical movie about Prince's, rise to the top, so to speak, right? Takes place in Minnesota, specifically Minneapolis, in the nightclub scene, which is pretty much where I guess he cut his teeth at in the music business, right? And then basically Prince's band in the movie squares off against a rival band called The Time to see who's the hottest group in town. And of course, he picks up a love interest along the way, and that's pretty much the gist of the movie.
Yes. Prince also, as you said, develops a love interest with Pollyanna, who actually became the actress that in this movie will actually go on their short-lived musical career in real life, but he has a complicated relationship with Prince. Like Prince in his movie, if this movie was released on today, he would be labeled as a wife beater. That's how bad he treats Pollyanna at times. Prince's character is simply referred to as the Kid. In addition to his love life and attitudes towards his bandmates, the Kid's home life is also a train wreck, as domestic abuse is rife as his father beats his mom on a regular basis.
So whether or not all that is true for his actual backstory in real life, I haven't done that deep of a dive. Even though it's supposed to be somewhat of a biography of his early days, right? There's still a lot of artistic, I would just say, liberty taken. This is still a fictional story being told on the big screen. And let's just simply discuss why this movie became the hit. And a big part of the reason is the goddamn soundtrack, which again, for the most part, is composed by Prince and his band, The Revolution. You had mega smash hits, you had Baby I'm a Star, the title track simply called Purple Rain. And then there's a couple other like mega hit songs that came out of that movie. Like this movie catapulted Prince from being a pretty well-known music star, right, to a fucking mega stardom. He was on par with Michael Jackson, which that was like at the time that was the bar. He hit Michael Jackson level, and well, you're God, right? And it put him there. He was already a popular music artist before this movie was made, but it just simply really pushed him out there. Again, the music is catchy. It's still popular to this damn day. And the movie had like a style. It's, I don't know any other way of describing it, but there's like a style to it that resonates. And then, of course, all the actors and the characters, everyone does their part in this movie pretty decently. And it all comes together. It's like the perfect mix. And then you get a staple in pop culture.
Well, Prince, unfortunately, his film career would peak with Purple Rain and never actually achieve new heights of his follow-up acting gigs. This first of which, after Purple Rain, was a movie called Under the Cherry Moon, which he also composed soundtrack to. I had never seen Under the Cherry Moon, but based on the photos and posters I see in the movie, especially how Prince promote himself in the movie, I can understand why it's not well known, or it has cult status. It's not like legendary cult status, because like Prince, before he made Purple Rain, he was known for his provocative innuendos on stage, dressing in women's clothing and underwear just to get attention, and it worked for the most part. But when he tried that feminine look again in the sequel to Purple Rain called Graffiti Bridge, which he directed, the movie, it all backfired on him as an actor. Like Graffiti Bridge is a terrible movie compared to Purple Rain. Like Purple Rain is a great movie for what it is, but it's not like Singing in the Rain or Chicago level in terms of quality as a musical, but it has its own charm to it, which is lacking in Graffiti Bridge. Like in Graffiti Bridge, it feels like more like a fantasy role compared to the grittiness, realism that Rain offered. But Prince thought he had the acting chops. He does not have acting chops. Like he's said the worst actor out there, but he just does not have the capability to hold the audience's attention for a long period of time. And also the way he was promoting himself in the 80s and early to mid 90s was often push people away. Because he's trying to be a feminine lover man, and in my opinion, it worked in the 80s. It did not work in the 90s, and by the time the 90s came along, grunge was taking its place in pop culture, and people like Prince, Phil Collins, and other 80s megastars were being cast aside. But Prince ended his acting career with Graffiti Bridge because it's like I said, it's trying to be a fantasy version of what Minneapolis is to Prince, and it just doesn't work. And it also doesn't have a great soundtrack compared to Purple Rain. Like the music in Graffiti Bridge is not terrible, but it's not on the same par as Purple Rain. But as a musician, Prince, a year or two after he made Purple Rain, he peaked with one of the greatest albums ever recorded called sign of the times, which Rolling Stone, as I said, Rolling Stone states is one of the greatest albums of all time. And ever since then until he died, Prince has never achieved that level of quality or praise because of his music. But Purple Rain is Prince's is the year Prince peaked as a mega level celebrity, and it's just went downhill from there. Like he never faded away, but by the time the mid 1990s came along, he was no longer like the top 90 performer that he was, and he got replaced by grunge, then by boy bands, then by Britney Spears, and at one point he was being outclassed by Michael Jackson before Michael Jackson's naughty nude child allegations came to light. But Prince. Prince, you say what you want about him as a person, but as a performer, he was legendary. In fact, I encourage people watching this to watch his Super Bowl halftime show they did back in 2000. I think it was 2006 or something in Miami, where he's like elevating the crowd while it's raining on stage. Like, not that many people could do that, and Prince. That's the level Prince has in terms of talent. Like he could make people sing and dance in the fucking rain. That's like unheard of for most musicians. But
Yeah, I agree. Like,
yeah, but anyway, Purple Rain was like was a milestone of pop culture in the '80s. Unfortunately, Prince could not replicate that success as an actor, but as a musician, he peaked a couple years later with Sign of the Times, and since then until he passed away, he never got the same amount of praise for his work. But again, he never like faded away in terms of talent. It's just like he just couldn't outdo himself.
yeah, like I mean, you said it perfectly well. Like, the dude is a musical genius. All right, like even on a lot of these albums where he has like a backing band, right? He composes a lot of the music himself. You know, and the band learns how to play the songs live and what for the music videos. But he does a lot of the instrumental compositions for a lot of the songs, and he kept that up until like the day he died. You know, dude's an absolute genius, and he was positioned in the right place at the right time in 1984 with Purple Rain. If you ever watched the Dave Chappelle show, right, they do the segment about Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories, and then they do a segment about Prince. You know, and then Charlie Murphy's like, yeah, the dude that looked like the biggest bitch in the 80s got the most chicks. You know, and it's pretty fucking true. You know, I mean, you look at how he was portraying himself in his public persona at the time, right? That androgynous, feminine, whatever, you know, dude's wearing a fucking ruffled blouse shirt. I mean, come on. At the same time, a lot of the popular music acts at the time were incorporating similar looks. Like, look at Motley Crue, like in their early days. You know, they're all wearing fucking women's makeup. Poison. You know, there's other like big name groups that were doing that shit. And I was like, come on. But again, he was positioned in the right place at the right time, right? And I, much as I hate to say, I mean, Purple Rain really carried a lot by the soundtrack. It really is, you know. I mean, think about it. If that soundtrack wasn't as good as it was, I don't think this movie is as well remembered, as well liked to this day as it is.
Well, like I said, when Prince directed and starred in Graffiti Bridge, sequel to Purple Rain, his lack of talent as an actor and as a filmmaker shows. And like is Graffiti Bridge one of the worst movies ever made? Don't think so, but it's a very bad movie. and it's a bad movie in many bad ways. But I've seen far worse movies. But get Prince has limited talent as a filmmaker, but as a musician, he's in many ways just like the Mozart in the 20th century because, as you said, a lot of the recordings he did, he's playing all the instruments, and
Hmm.
the only reason he has a backup band in the first place is because he can't play every instrument at the same time live on stage. Like if he could do that, he's basically God incarnate, incarnate. But for Rain, Purple Rain, like the soundtrack is what sells the movie. Like I think the actors in it are actors in quotation marks do okay job, but they're not the greatest because most of them are musicians in the first place, not trained thespians.
As far as Pulper in the movie is concerned, everybody does just enough in this movie to make it work. All right. It's definitely not going to be remembered as one of the greatest movies ever made. It will go down as probably having one of the greatest soundtracks ever for a movie, ever. You know, then again, Prince and all the other supporting actors, they do their part just right and just enough. So yeah, check out Purple Rain, check out the music of Prince, drop a like, follow, subscribe to the channel. We always greatly appreciate it. Until next time.